2 hours, zone 2, then have 1-2 days off, then have one VO2 max session. Usually how it happens, not the strongest one win, the smartest one win. So
hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now, if you're the sort of person that cycles a lot and would like to increase your FTP, whether it be on Zwift or outdoors, then we've got quite the episode for you today. I'm lucky enough to be joined by Kosta, who works at the NRC-Team. Now, Kosta is a professional cycling coach, and we've got some really good questions lined up for him that hopefully he'll be able to answer, and it'll really give you some tips on how to improve your cycling fitness. So Kosta, welcome to the podcast.
Hi mate, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Thank you so much again for joining us on the, well, not POGcast is what we're calling this. So, yeah. But how you doing? You okay? All good?
Yeah. Thanks for invitation. I mean, the last time I really enjoyed covering some Zwift race with you, highlights. So yeah, hopefully today there will be also a productive video.
Brilliant. I mean, we've got some, I've had some great questions actually from people that watched that video that wanted to kind of learn a little bit more. So before we dive into those questions, once again, just give us a little bit of background on yourself, Kosta, because I know you're obviously a very experienced coach. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been into sports since I was a very small kid. I've played football most of my life. Then I had this kind of switch to endurance sport. I studied sport and exercise science at Coventry University in the UK. Since then, I was working as a coach once again, but then slowly shifting to endurance world and start giving a private advices, let's put it that way, to the people, to the athletes, and then slowly switch to actually cycling and triathlon. And now it's mainly cycling, and I have also a few triathletes who I train online. And yeah.
So very busy then, all the time training and lots of experience in the background. What were you doing football-wise? You're a professional footballer?
Well, yeah, I've been playing for one of the best team back in Kiev, but then I kind of switched to cycling. Then I got hit by the car when I was a kid.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's a pretty long story actually, but yeah, long story short, then I switched back to football and decided to be a coach because I was really into this planning stuff. You know, that's actually what I really love, and I play a lot of Football Manager. That's one of the biggest things.
Me too.
Yeah, of course. That's one of the biggest thing, I think, especially in the UK. But then slowly when I was studying at university, we did this VO2 max tests. We did a lot of physiology, and we kind of start picking up this concepts that was really relevant to actually cycling, because I love cycling since I was a kid as well. So I've been watching in Eurosport, all this Vuelta, Tour de France with Lance Armstrong. That's been amazing. And since then, actually, I start slowly shifting towards cycling. I started doing cycling myself, duathlon, triathlons, and then there was a smooth transition, I would say, from football world to cycling triathlon world.
Yeah, nice. I mean, you've definitely helped me. We've been working together for a little while now. It's probably coming up 6 months actually, and the training sessions have been amazing, and I've definitely stepped up. I've gone to a different level. So I can vouch for Kosta. He knows what he's talking about. I mean, probably the fact that he's been to university and got all these experiences is definitely more than my vouch. But he's you're absolutely top bloke, mate. So hopefully our viewers were going to be able to benefit with some of these questions as well that we've got. So yeah, shall I crack on? Shall I ask the first question then? And this one was specifically from someone that watched the video, and it was around obviously FTP. So I've got 4 hours a week to train. What training would you recommend for me to do, just having 4 hours a week, to basically improve my cycling fitness the most? What's the biggest bang for the buck when it comes to kind of the 4 hour a week training mark?
Yeah, that's the good question. First of all, I would say that you need at least 6 hours to really improve your fitness within within some long period of time. 4 hours, that's quite a few. However, you can still be very productive in these 4 hours. So first of all, I would say you don't have to waste your time on some useless sessions. So all your sessions should be really precise, I would say. And anyway, you need one long session a week. So I would really break this down into 3 sessions. Probably one long ride on Saturday or Sunday, 2 hours, zone 2. Then have 1-2 days off. Then have one VO2 max session, then have again 1 or 2 days off, and then have FTP session. So that's actually how I would break it down, because there is some benefits actually to have 4 hours a week. You have much more time to recovery. So you still have naturally these 2 days in between. Then, if you sleep enough and you don't consume a lot of alcohol, then you'll be fine. I mean, for the next session, right? So there will be a breakdown. However, even here we can really dive deep into kind of what part of the season are we in. So if it's really race season, that probably a little bit more intensity, less FTP sessions. If it's just base season like December, you want to be on the top form in June or so, then we would do just base sessions. But once again, 4 hours, that's I would say 6, that would be perfect. But
what would you say the FTP sessions are then? So is that do you mean threshold sessions by that, or
well, let's take an example. Like 1 week would be Tuesday. Let's imagine it would be HIIT training, so high intensity intervals. I really love these 30 seconds by 30 seconds rest. So I
know you do. You keep giving that to me. And
you suffer a lot, right, during these sessions. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So there would be one of these high intensity interval sessions. Then the next session would be probably 2 times 15 minutes, following the rest like 10 minutes on 90% from your FTP. That probably would be a session for 1 hour. And then Sunday or Saturday, there would be just zone 2, right? But like really zone 2, because sometimes people do zone 1, and thinking that's the zone 2. So it's too easy, or they either push too hard. So it's like really to stay in that zone 2 sweet spot.
So the zone 2 stuff then, so I had one of your 2 hour zone 2 specials today, and I did my best to stay in the kind of levels of zone 2. Does it really kind of matter that much? Say, for example, if I do just slip into zone 1 for a bit, or I do just go into kind of tempo or threshold, or is it really beneficial just to stay in that kind of zone 2 kind of zone?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the main purpose of the zone 2 training, that's to make sure that you're burning fat as efficient as you can. So you do your fat oxidation, like you do this kind of thing as long as you can. So if you stay into this specific zone 2, then you are burning fat, you're using fat as a main source of energy, you're not really diving into your glycogen. So that's what actually the aim of the zone 2 trainings. That's why it's really crucial to stay there. Like you don't have to think about okay, if, I don't know, 10 seconds I will be in zone 1, or push on the climb for like 1 minute, I will really screw out the training. No. But I would say that at least 90% of the session you need to stay really within these watts that you have for the zone 2 predefined. It's like plus minus 10 watts, I would say, but not more.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I mean, would you then say that if you really want to take your fitness to the next level, it's got to be 4 hours plus? So it would be, what would you say will take you to the next level in terms of hours a week? Is it literally 6 hours, or are you saying 10 hours is a minimum? What would you say is that kind of next bigger step?
Yeah, well, I think there is no really the right answer. It really depends on the person. So if you come, let's imagine you're an experienced cyclist who wants to really improve your fitness even more. So you already train 10 hours a week and you want to be competitive in your, in Gran Fondo, for example, internationally. So then I would say we have to really increase from 10 hours till like 15 hours. just as an example.
Yeah.
If you are someone who is coming from like 4 or 5 hours a week, then I would say we need to have at least 7, 6, 7. So it really depends on the foundation, what you have already before you start training, right?
Yeah.
And also your time. I mean, we like, maybe that's a little bit another topic, but what I really don't like about these online training plans on Training Peaks or the Zwift, for example, that you have the plan, for example, for 1 month already predefined with 15 hours a week or 12 hours a week, just name that, how you can decide, you can choose. But then we are not the pros, right? Most of us have families, jobs, and like different stuff.
Yeah.
You might get sick. And I think that's the biggest problem with all these predefined plans. So when I say you need to train at least 6 hours a week, that's the perfect scenario. However, like I understand we might have a job and like you might get sick or you have some plans or in the family. So I would say that there is no minimum, but there should be a consistency. That's the most important thing. So if you're consistent with your 4 hours a week training, then that's perfect. You'll benefit much more rather than you do 6, 8 hours, then nothing for 2 weeks, then again 10 hours. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I've definitely found it beneficial because I probably was one of the categories of doing a 4 hours a week. And then I know that, well, you have upped it to kind of 6, 7, and we're going even harder now, aren't we? Kind of 8, 9 hours potentially. And the proof's in the pudding. That has definitely seen me go to the next level, which is kind of a good lead on to the next question. So what would you say there is kind of a natural limit to what someone can achieve? I mean, obviously there is, everyone is different in terms of their own kind of biology and, what they can do. But say I don't know, say I trained like a pro, for example, could I ever become a pro, or is it just I'll always be whatever the best me is, if that makes sense?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, even now in Germany, as I live right now in Germany, I've been participating in a few races with the continental teams, pro continental teams. And usually here, how it's done in Germany, the kids who are 19, 20 years old, so they kind of want to break through the ceiling and get the pro contract. So they really ride a lot between themselves, right, and trying to win the things to get the attention to them. And you can definitely see that there is some talents, like just natural talents. I'm not sure that they've been training like all their life 20 hours a week or so. So there is a really predefined conditions which might say that you might become a pro next Tadej Pogacar or Vingegaard, whoever. Or there is just limitation of your nature, so you cannot really jump through this ceiling, right? So just as an example, there is some guys out there who have FTP 4.5 watts per kilo out of the couch. So they do nothing. They just go there, train for 1 month, and that's their FTP, 4.5 watts per kilo. And of course you can work on that, right? So to increase it to 5.5, because if you want to be a pro, it's at least 6 watts per kilogram. You should have your functional threshold power. And of course, as a normal immortal people, so we have out of the couch probably, I don't know, 2.5 FTP or something, 3 watts per kilo. That's why that's really, I would say, difficult question to answer, because it really counts from who you are and from your natural conditions.
So could you say, like, so for example, you might see if you've never really cycled before and you just get on the bike and you do your first FTP test, would you say that potentially you could increase it by, I don't know, 40, 50% to whatever your natural kind of starting point is? Or have you seen it kind of go way above that before? Because there are some people out there that are naturally just, gifted when it comes to things like, VO2 max, and, they're just high performers. But so like for me, for example, I think, when I first started, I was, I don't know, I could push an FTP of like 220. And I think only now I'm still maybe 270, 260 perhaps. So I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know. Obviously, I've improved, but I still feel like I've got room. I've got room to improve even further. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, with FTP, there is also, at least that's my opinion, there is some misconception about really these FTP number. I mean, what we're really aiming for that to pursue your goal. I mean, if your goal, just as an example, if your goal to have your FTP like 300 watts, then we can work like half of the year just on your FTP with some intervals, and then probably you will reach this point. But then there is a next question, and what's next? Like, I mean, there should be a purpose behind your FTP, right? For example, with you, I think that's really good example. Once, like when we talked to you the first time, you mentioned about your FTP, but also the Zwift racing, that you want to win races. And actually that was our main priority, to win the races. So not aiming for a number. I mean, it wouldn't have any sense, right? If we just look at the numbers, what's your FTP? It's really complex thing. That's why sometimes I feel some people are really too narrow-minded, too narrow-focused on the FTP number, because cycling, it's much, much more. There is a tactical thing, what we discussed in the previous video with you, right, during the race. And usually how it happens, not the strongest one win, the smartest one win. So yeah, this battle about FTP, it's been there for a long time.
Yeah. Get some real goals, basically. Get some goals that isn't mainly focused on FTP. And actually, because I'll tell you what, winning that Zwift Racing League race definitely gave me more of a kind of satisfaction than probably increasing my FTP by 10 watts. I'll say that. And I'm going to stop banging on about that race now. You know, I talk about it all the time. But yeah.
It's been a great one, so why not?
I know, love that. Okay, cool. So slightly changing the subject to supplementation then. So I know that for me, we've just started kind of building me up on creatine. And obviously after kind of harder sessions, I'm on the protein shakes to kind of, I guess, build up that muscle. So would you say creatine is the best supplement that someone can take to improve fitness, or is there anything else out there that we should be looking at all?
Yeah, with creatine, if you remember, we start really taking it during the specific period of our trainings, right? When we start shifting to sprint sessions, more high intensity sessions, that's when we start taking creatine. So I wouldn't really recommend taking creatine during your base period, when you do just zone 2 rides or some your threshold trainings. It doesn't really have sense. This creatine stuff, it's actually, if you would think about your energy systems during the sprint, all out sprint, usually within like 15-30 seconds you burn your creatine phosphate, and in order to increase the storage of your creatine, that's why we're taking it. So when we have the sprint session, like you do, I don't know, 10 times 15 seconds with a rest of like 6 minutes with a full recovering, then we really need to creatine in order to compensate what you've spent during your sessions. So I would recommend definitely take creatine during this period of your season. Yeah. Regarding protein, after some intervals and really high intensity sessions, it's good to take protein along with carbs. So don't forget about carbs. A lot of people think like take protein, that's it. No, carbohydrates, they are still our main source of energy as endurance athletes. However, if you have really good diet throughout your day, throughout your weeks, then you might not even need your protein shake afterwards. So if you can eat a good portion of salmon after your intensity session, then that would be perfect as well. However, it's not usually the case, as it's pretty hard to maintain a good nutrition balance in your life. That's why I would recommend actually take 2 scoops of protein after workout. But if you have chance to have a proper protein-based meal with some carbs, then of course that would be the best option, I would say.
Yeah, good advice. I like that. I mean, taking the shake is probably, I do take the protein shakes. It's probably a little bit of a an easy way to do it. It's a little bit lazy potentially, but for those of you that either are doing something else after your session and not necessarily going to eat, it might be a good alternative. So yeah, interesting to hear that actually. So I'll keep doing that. Talking of kind of intervals and VO2, I know you kind of touched on this earlier a little bit. What's your favorite VO2 max session to build kind of that sprint fitness?
Absolutely, that's high intensity intervals. That's what we're doing with you. That's 30. Yeah, usually that's the block of 13 times you do your potentially maximum acceleration for 30 seconds, then it followed by the rest of 15 or 30 seconds. So we can really adjust, for example, 45 seconds acceleration, then 15 seconds rest, but then watts a little bit lower, or 30-30, which means watts would be higher. But definitely that's, even by the science, that's one of the best thing that you could do, because you stay in this like top zone, your red zone, for if you would accumulate all this time, you spend quite significant amount of time there. You cannot do this when you do like 5 times 5. You cannot really reach that zone to stay such a long time there. However, also it really depends on the season and like what do you train for. If you know that we are training for the race, when there will be a climb for 5 minutes climb or a few climbs, 3-4 minutes climbs, then I would also switch to these specific sessions when we do, for example, 6 times 4 minutes accelerations followed by like 5 minutes rest, because there is like 2 parts, I would say, physiological part and also psychological part. It's easy to suffer 30 seconds and then have these 30 seconds rest in between, or 15 seconds rest to shake it, to shake up the legs a little bit, rather than do like 4 minutes all out effort 6 times.
Yeah. But
during the race, you have to do that, right? You cannot accelerate for 30 seconds. Then, all right, mate, wait, I will recover. So it's really the balance, I would say. But yeah, these sessions are key.
For me, those sessions are just so difficult. I've really got to psych myself up beforehand, but they're so beneficial. So no, really, really interesting to hear, and thank you for your advice on the best VO2 max session. Final question then.
Sure.
Is fasted training beneficial, and when would you recommend it?
Yeah, that's actually still debating topic, I would say, between some trainers. I personally find it really beneficial, and there are couple of studies which are actually support this opinion. However, I think there is this misconception about fasted training because of the usage of it. Some people do some high intensity intervals being fasted, which is not good. That's definitely not the things that you should do. Otherwise, you will just get fall down from your bike. I personally like to do fasted training in the morning for like 1 hour, so in your zone 2, once again, to increase your fat oxidation. The main reason is to use your fat as the main source of energy, so to do not touch your carbohydrates. And basically during the race, you do not have to go to your glycogen store and take something, even like small pieces of your glycogen, if you would imagine this kind of thing, because you need this glycogen at the end of the race, during the accelerations, during the really decisive part of the race. And that's why this fasted training are so beneficial. You train your body how to use fat as much as you can to produce the power. Yeah, and I would definitely recommend to do that. However, I have few athletes who just cannot do that. They just told me, hey, I just don't feel that way. I feel really bad. And I think there's also should be a balance, right? If you don't feel that way, if you had a few sessions, you just naturally feel bad with empty stomach on the bike, then you should not do that. So I would say that's the good thing to do, good things to try. And if it works for you, that works. If it doesn't, then that's fine. that's fine. So it's not like the end of the world. But yeah, it's something that you can definitely, take some advantage from.
Yeah. I really struggle with the fastest sessions, to be honest with you. I normally find that my heart rate's a little bit high. Well, because I normally do them first thing in the morning. I'm not a morning kind of training person, but they are beneficial, as you say. They are beneficial, and I will keep doing them as long as you keep putting them on the training plan, Kosta. I promise I will not do them. No, I won't. I won't. No, I enjoy them.
Sure.
No, they're fine. No, they're good.
That's good.
Thank you so much for obviously answering some of those questions. I hope that some of you have found that, well, all of you have found that very beneficial. Kosta, how do people get in contact with you? I mean, I'm going to put all your details in the description, but I take it you're free to take on kind of new people obviously now and going forward. I mean, I've had a great relationship with Kosta so far. I know I keep saying this, but you're such a nice guy. And you've been really supportive. It's kind of half of it's kind of the talking throughout and the encouragement all the way through. But yeah, you're still available, and people can contact you via the website, I take it?
Yeah, sure. You can contact me through the website, or probably you can leave also the email. You can just write an email, ask the question. So I try to answer every email. So if you just have a general question, that's also fine. I mean, I will be more than happy to help you if you have any questions. If you want to, start your proper training plans, then of course I'm more than welcome to help you.
Cool. Kosta, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Appreciate you spending some time talking, and might look to do another one of these in the future, hopefully. But thanks very much, mate.
Sure. Thank you.